We just got word a few moments ago that police have found the body of an apparent murder victim in the downtown area of Salt Lake City. Sandy Gilmore is on the scene right now. Sandy, can you hear me?
Yes, Terry, I'm at about 450 west on South Temple, a few railroad tracks west of the Union Pacific Depot. A man was shot and killed about an hour ago in this boxcar here.
Doug Coleman lies in agony on the cold boxcar floor as he enters his final hours. His glasses laying next to him as cigarette butts and shell casings from a .22 pistol were scattered around the boxcar. The shot rang loud that winter when the cops were finally called. The investigators found Coleman's lifeless body stretched across the boxcar as he finally met his untimely demise with the bullets and head to the chest.
Members of the gay community were left on edge after a string of murders in the 70s, and in Coleman's case, it seems that the police had enough evidence to arrest the suspect. They were able to match ballistics found at the scene to a weapon and pawn shop which belonged to Coleman's neighbor, who had made multiple comments threatening Coleman's life. Yet he remained free, and Coleman's case went cold. Ben Williams, a gay historian in Salt Lake City, is not surprised with the number of cold cases in the gay community at the time, because, according to him, part of a gay man's experience was getting beaten up.
It was very dangerous. All the time you'd hear about people being attacked. In those days you had to stand outside of the bars to go in because you had to have a membership or you had to sign in to go in. So there was always long lines outside of the bars to get into them. And regularly, if you were standing in those lines, cars would drive by and yell faggot and queer and throw things at you and stuff. And you really didn't have to really be doing anything to antagonize people either. I know some friends and I were walking home on from the bars on Broadway on 3rd South, and we were attacked.
Ben Williams has established himself as the unofficial historian of Utah's LGBTQ+ community. At a young age, Williams kept a journal and documented the experience of him and his friends. The gay community at the time was alone, ostracized by the majority of their neighbors and leaders. All they had was each other, and without substantial allies outside their immediate community, there wasn't anyone to turn to.
At that time, most gay kids and lesbian kids I knew, we had no families. I never knew anybody had families. We never talked about our families. We talked about each other. We were family. That whole idea of, we are family, was truly in the gay community.
The day of Doug's death could have started out like any other Thursday. The day before his 27th birthday, Coleman went out for a drink at the Sun Tavern, a bar where members of the gay community felt safe to go and socialize with one another. After leaving the Sun Tavern, and by himself from all accounts, his body was found inside a boxcar at the Union Pacific Railroad around 5 p.m. There were cigarette butts found at the railroad car where Coleman's body was found, and the cigarettes were taken into custody by original investigators. The cigarettes were determined to have not been smoked by Coleman and have since gone missing, which could have helped solve the case. Critics say the investigation of Coleman's death isn't the only one shrouded by a lack of care by the Salt Lake City police at the time. Mona Ulibarri was found face down in the Jordan River mud on April 9, 1979. She was reported missing by her family after she did not come home from the bar one night. Her car was lit on fire, and while questioning suspects, her girlfriend at the time knew exactly what happened to Mona before the information was public. Anthony Adams was murdered November 1978. He was a prominent socialist activist who was murdered under curious circumstances. His case involved missing murder weapons, lying witnesses, and an unclear timeline. While investigating the case, police met with multiple public figures, including Reverend Bob Waldrop and friend Bill Woodbury.
While the families of these victims would get some solace if these cases were solved, Williams says these cases have been cold for so long that today's LGBTQ+ community might not care anymore. He says that they have new goals to achieve, and that is thanks to the advocacy work from those paving the way in the 70s and 80s.
Younger people, they're living in a different time than what we were living in, and they have different needs than what we have. And what they have, I think it was built on what we did. And they wouldn't have what they had with, pioneers didn't come forward, but that's what pioneers do. They, lay the groundwork for younger people. And I think younger people have their own issues that they're dealing with that are not our issues because we didn't have to deal with them.